Hi everybody, I have the second in a series of 3 winter-inspired finger puppet tutorials, so let's get started. For this project you will need a finger puppet base, some yarn, some felt, and a glue gun and a pair of scissors. I got most of my supplies from achildsdream.com, but you can get them from any local craft store. So I always start off making my finger puppets by starting with the hair, normally I do at least. And I'm using some black worsted, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, wool yarn. Now I find it a little bit easier to use the bulky variety of yarn, and so when I'm using this kind, which I think is just wound a little bit tighter, I tend to use a lot more of it, but it's not as full as some of the other yarns that I use. I'm just going to give her a quick trim here, and then I'm going to use those little pieces that I trimmed off to make her some bangs. So I'm going to show you this part, but I end up cutting it out later, or rather I end up taking it off later, but I wanted to make her a hat. Now I made one similar to this in a previous video for our weather finger puppets, and I liked it so much I wanted to do another one with dark hair because the other one had super blonde hair. I made a long braid, and then I started to glue the braid around in a circular fashion until I got to the little top part, and then I snipped it off and glued it in place. So I'm going to work with the rest of the finger puppet, and as I get towards the end I'm going to realize that I really just don't like the pink hat for this particular finger puppet. I'm going to take it off. So in the meantime I'm making her a really long dress and then a very short cloak. It looked nice, but it's not easy for her to stand up. She tends to tip backwards because there's not enough fabric all the way around the base for her to stay standing. Even though I do trim it down quite a bit, it's still, she has a hard time standing up. And so now I'm going to add a little scarf around her neck because these are winter inspired finger puppets, so they need to be all cozy. And here I am ripping this off. Now the hat is still okay for me to use for a different finger puppet, and because I am adding a little scarf over this one, you can't tell where there's big globs of glue on her hair. So when it's all done, you can't even tell that I did this, and I feel like it looked a little bit better with like a gray scarf for this particular outfit. It just seemed a little bit more formal than the more playful hat that I had on her originally. So it just took a minute to fix that. It took honestly longer to braid the hat and make it, but at least I have that for another finger puppet in the future. So with this wool batting, it's I would say a little bit tricky to use because it's hard to get like a good area to have it glue down because it's so wispy, but I didn't bother trimming off any of the extra wool batting. I just kind of left it there, and here I am just trimming this off, and I'm going to she wouldn't even stand, not even a little bit. So anyway, I'm going to have to trim off quite a bit more of it, which I really didn't want to do, but because I used such a small piece of felt for the cloak, I had no choice. Otherwise she would just be decorative and not, you wouldn't be able to play with her. And my kids, they play with these. Okay, so I am dipping into my craft supplies here to give her a little bit of detail around her scarf. And so what I did was I put tiny little dollops of glue along the edge. Even though there's adhesive on these little enamel dots, they would just completely come off when my kids played with them. So I wanted to make sure they were secure, so I glued everything in place and then added another little one to the front as a button. That first one was a little bit too big, so I just traded out for a small one. And here she is all done, and I think you'll probably agree that the gray hat suited her a little bit better, at least for the style. And here you can get a little bit more of a close-up on that trim around her scarf, and you can get a little sneak peek at the other ones for our winter inspired finger puppets. So if you'd like to catch up on that playlist, you can click here for that playlist. And if you would like to check out our our weather finger puppets, you can click here for that whole playlist. And if you'd like to see how we did the lettering for our wood block, you can click here for that video as well. And if you're on a mobile device, I will add the links to those videos in the description below. And if you'd like to see more pictures, you can check out my website at pepperandpine.com. Thanks for watching.